which makes reference to her past time when her eye had been shot by a BB gun. She continues with detest towards her life and the way that she is living her life, holding their babies, cooking their meals, sweeping their yards, washing their clothes. After the first two stanzas, the poem shifts into a powerful and definite outlook. She no longer lets this hate for herself or the hate that comes from the oppression against her skin color to affect her. She turns from looking at the bad times that have struck her life as moments for possibility for the future. Walker includes rhetorical question in the title, as we said before. Remember? There is the use of repetition when she says, I am the woman and I am the girl, which show both a change and a sense of confidence in who she is. She also uses the metaphor, roots of the flower, justice and hope, as she states that I am the woman offering two flowers whose roots are twine. We understand that here view on the oppression and the physical deformities are the roots of the justice, while the new and fixed woman is seen through the idea of hope. The organization is clear with the shift coming after the second stanza. The theme is justice and hope, whether it is for a better future for herself or for that of the African American people. She challenges the people to be better. As for Maya Angelou's rights poem, Phenomenal Woman, she is a phenomenal woman based off of experiences growing up an African American woman. She was often discriminated against. She never saw herself as someone who was beautiful, and as a child was sexually abused. Through these experiences, she writes phenomenal women as praise to those who do view themselves in this respect. The title hints to the reader that they will be reading a poem about phenomenal women, whoever this might be. The poem is written describing the different factors that make this woman beautiful. The woman in this poem is not necessarily about her outside and how she looks, but much greater about who she is on the inside and how she carries herself. Men are drawn to this woman because of the way she carries herself. Though she is in addition physical attractive, that is not what the poem is supposed to be central around. Maya Angelou describes the emotion of a hidden frustration and anger at any who may begin to doubt the woman's confidence. But overall, Maya Angelou praises the woman who can learn to love herself. Angelou uses a great imagery throughout her work, especially in describing the characteristics of the women in the poem. She also uses metaphor when she states, this is the line of the poem, then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. Her use of repetition is seen in I am woman, phenomenal woman, that's me. Overall, her words give a great description. The poem shifts when she begins talking about outsiders' opinion. Her tone throughout is both confident and proud. This title is self-confidence and introducing a movement for change. The theme is purity, is shown through self-confidence. In both two articles or essay each discusses the idea of confidence, whether Maya Angelou or Alice Walker. Both of them discuss the idea of confidence and a love for who you are. In Anglou's, it is very loud and clear that a woman is beautiful because of the way that she carries herself and everything she has, while Walker begins with a lack of confidence but builds up to appreciate herself for who she is and what she can do. In accordance, Walker has a central idea that inner beauty comes through mentality. Walker's theme is justice. These two go hand in hand because Angelou wants to change the modern image of American women. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and show is not only kind of beauty. It is justice for African American women to understand that they are beautiful. In Walker's poem, it's apparent that hope and justice give her the chance to understand her own beauty and her own strength to build the kind of self-confidence that is seen in phenomenal women. The tone of both of the piece varies. In Anglou's version, the tone is constantly proud and confident and unwavering at the opinion of others. Whether it is the jealous woman or the man, the focus stays very constant. In Walker's version, the two begins rather dark and gloomy, but changes drastically into a feeling of hope that good can be done, a belief in yourself. Both have a free verse style with repetition. The purpose of the two poems does differ. Overall, the purpose of Maya Angelou's poem is demonstrating the beauty of an African American woman on how she carries herself. Walker's purpose is much more of a challenge. She wants the reader to walk away, giving anyone the chance that is willing to stand against the injustice of the society. She uses her own personal afflictions in order to better create a stronger individualizing woman after the accusation of hope. She uses also her story. She enlists the help of the reader to put justice and hope back into society. Therefore, let us begin. The poetry by these two poets creates several different images, both overall, each with a different goals, have achieved their purpose. If we have a shades of being human concerning two poets, tragedy struck both of these women at the age of 8. Miss Walker lost her sight in one eye. Miss Angelou was raped. Each describes the incident as part of a larger work. Miss Walker related her experience in the body of an essay published in her book In Search of Our Mother's Gardens. Miss Angelou told her story as a chapter in her autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sing. Although both wrote about their traumatic experience, the way each depicted the incident was distinct and seemed to be told for very different purpose. Alice Walker reports the fact to the reader with short sentences written in the present tense. She chooses words which elicit a forceful emotional response from her audience. For example, in telling how her brothers were given BB guns and she was not. Miss Walker writes, because I am a girl, I do not get a gun. Instantly, I am relegated to the position of Indian. The word relegated causes the reader to be irate and indignant. Most people do not like being relegated to anything, by the way. Another illustration of Mrs. Walker's use of dynamic word can be found in her description of the encounter with her parents following the accident. She speaks of being confronted by her parents. Confronted is a competitive word. When people are confronted by others, they want to launch an attack. Her style and true to Ford make the reader aware that she is alone and fearful. She is left to fight her battles by herself. Maya Angelou narrates her own or her account in a conversational tone. She uses the past tense, which tells her audience it's over. For her words are free from severity. They encourage the reader to see hope in the mindset or the midst of sadness, and instead of trying to elicit a particular emotional response, Maya Angelou invites her audience to share in her thoughts and feelings. For instance, having given an account of the rape, she writes, "I thought I had died. I woke up in a white, wild world, and it had to be heaven." The reader feels a connection with her pain, yet realizes redemption lies close at hand. Whereas Walker tells how she was confronted by her parents, Angelou explains she means her mother picked me up in her arms, and the terror abated for a while. There is no impression of competitiveness here. There is only tenderness and care. Once again, she invites the reader in. Walker wants the reader to feel for her, whereas Angelou wants her audience to feel with her. They achieve their objectives by directing the reader's attention to a specific emotion. The emotional focus of Alice Walker's story is, as I said before, is rage, red hot, and isolation. As I read this space, I became livid, or not only at the thought of her devastating injury and her family's apparent de-association, but also at Miss Walker herself. It appears to me that she never let go of it, and instead she seemed to embrace her in anger. On the other hand, Miss Anglou's anger is subtle and short-lived. Though I was incensed by what happened to her, she quietly, instead that I leave it behind, she concentrated less on her anger and more on the warmth and support of her family. It would be impossible not to address the way in which both women refer to the intense physical pain each of them suffered as little girls. Miss Walker gives a little description of her anguish, but I clearly felt it. When I read, I feel an incredible flaw in my right eye, and my eye stings, and I cover it with my hand. My immediate response was to quickly cover my eye with my hand. My body reacts to her pain. Mrs. Anglou's description produced another effect. She wrote, "Then there was the pain, a breaking and entering when even the senses are torn apart. And instead of a physical reaction, I felt wrenching of the heart." Miss Walker focused my attention on the injury to her body, while Miss Angelou focused on her emotional scares. My most powerful emotion response throughout both stories was one of incredible sorrow. I felt the tremendous weight that sadness and despair can fold around a heart, not only for a child trauma, but also for the devastating repercussions that tragedy can produce. Loss of dignity, self-esteem, and the child itself. I want to confront them both. However, by the end of Mrs. Walker's account of the accident, I not only wanted to confront her, I wanted to child her as well. Her wounds were still open, by the way. At the end of her narrative, she wrote, "Now, when I stare at people, a favorite pastime up to now, they will stare back. Not at the cute little girl, but at her scare. For 6 years, I do not stare at anyone because I do not raise my head. I wanted to intervene and help her, by the way. Although in Miss Anglo's stories I yearned to confront the child, it was obvious that the adult Maya Angelou didn't need my protection. She ended her account with these words: I would have liked to stay in the hospital the rest of my life. Mother brought flowers and candy. Grandmother came with fruit, and my uncles clumped around and around my bed, snorting like wild horses when they were able to sneak Paley in. He read to me for hours. Her family loved her all the way through her trauma, by the way, and she moved from despair to hope with their help. Alice Walker and Maya Angelou are both extremely courageous writers. From each we receive a rare and a poignant gift, as her book suggests. Alice Walker challenges us to search for resolution in the face of loneliness and despair. Maya Angelou, who knows why the caged bird sings, reminds us that loneliness and despair never have the last word. She gently points us to a window of hope. Both women pledge us with shade of being human. The emotional focus of Alice Walker, as I said before, story is rage, red-hotted. On the other hand, Mrs. Angelou anger is subtle. It would be possible not to address the way in which both women refer to physical pain each of other. My most powerful emotional response through both stories was not incredible sorrow. I felt a tremendous sadness, as I said before. Although I said before that, I would like to stay in the hospital the rest of my life. This is her family loved, as I said before that. Although in Mrs. Anglou's story, I yearned the most comfort a child, it was obvious that the adult Maya Angelou didn't need any protection anymore. She ended her account with these words. As I said before, I would have liked to stay in the hospital the rest of my life. Mother brought flowers and candy. Grandmother came with fruit, and my uncles climbed around and around my bed, snorting like wild horses when they were able to sneak Billy. He read to me for hours. At the end, we can say that her family loved her all the way through her trauma, and she moved from despair to hope with their help. And this is different from Alice Walker, because both of them, we can consider both of them extremely courageous writers. Each of them received a rare and a gift. As her book suggests, Alice Walker challenges us to search for resolution in the face of loneliness and despair, while Maya Angelou, who knows why the caged bird sings, reminds us that loneliness and despair never have the last word. She gently points us to a window of hope. Both women pledge us with the shades of being human, as I told before. And this is the end of my presentation, and thanks for being with you today.